Bonnie Kempke. Welcome to my studio and welcome to Quilting on a Thread. Earlier I had posted one of my most early hacks on how to find the quilting zone on an 8-inch throat machine. And that's very helpful for those of you who have a PQ 1500, a Baby Lock Accomplish, many of the Jukies. There's a lot of machines out there that have an 8-inch throat, and using that little bit of crochet cotton or a piece of yarn and the side clips, it's very helpful. But I also have a hack that I use for finding the quilting space, or at least locating the quilting space on any of my machines. I've used the Baby Lock Jazz 2, I've used the Brother PQ 1500 SL, and now I'm using Trouble, my Unique 19. And so those throat spaces vary greatly. So I have another hack that I'll share with you. I'm going to put you on hold, reposition my phone, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back, and remember I told you this takes a little bit of planning, and so here's the planning. Here's what I have to tell you. This hack involves 4 strings with weights on each end of them. In my case, I'm using beads. You might use buttons, you might use tassels. And I have 2 short ones for the front to back and 2 long ones for the side to side. And what I do is the planning is having a place to store them where they don't get tangled up with one another, because once they get tangled up, it's a pain. So what I do is I just lay this, and the cool thing about it is that I rest that bead on the back, but I don't have it all the way hanging so it doesn't interfere with the machine, and I let the front one dangle down, and the ones on the front and back just need to be wherever you want to demarcate your point where you don't want to sew any further. It might be all the way to the edge where you don't want to hit your frame, so you come in 6 inches. In my particular instance, I'm just wanting to make sure that I don't go over this border. So I'm just going to put that right here and kind of guard my border. Even though I can see the border, I just want, you know, a visual key. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And it's just a matter of pick it up and lay it down. Then you take the longer ones. Now these are longer and therefore they have a little bit more weight on them. So for this instance, I'm just going to assume that I want to go all the way across, you know, front to back on my machine. So let's come to where, okay, that's where my machine starts to hit the frame. So let's come up a little bit and mark just a little bit before that. Then the next thing to do is to twist that thread around so that it doesn't move as much. Now, that thread resting on the side threads is holding the side threads in place, and that's really all you need. So we do the same thing with the back thread, and so I lay that out there, go behind the machine. It's important to go behind the machine and determine where my, you know, where my furthest point back is, and then decide where I want to marcate, you know, demarcate myself. Once I find that, again, just wrap the weights around the side frames. And the great thing about this is once it's in place, if I decide that I want to change, let's say I was going to do a feathering pattern and I only want the feathering pattern to be 1/4 of my quilt space, then all I have to do is move the thread up and move the thread over. Now I don't have to worry about, oh, I might accidentally go over. I've got this quilting area that's demarcated by these red threads. And they might move a little bit, but they're not going to move a lot. And it's a cute little trick. I hope that winds up being useful to you. The other thing to think about is as you undo it to put the threads away, you need to think about where you're going to store them. and I store them on the side of my thread, and for the long one on the side of my frame, and for the long ones I let the thread, the weight on one side of the thread go all the way to the floor so that they don't wind up twisting around themselves. And it might seem like it's a lot of a bother, but I've got to tell you that when I do this, and I don't do it on every project, but when I do this, it saves me a lot of time for what I am doing. And those threads, as long as I plan for where I'm going to put them, they stay out of my way and they don't cause me any trouble whatsoever. So I hope that helps. See you soon. Now, I know these little threads with weights on them might be a bother to some people. Some people enjoy putting tape. You know, they put tape on their clips, and that's fine. I just worry about the tape becoming, you know, the tape messing up my clips, gumming up my clips to where my clips are now, every time I touch my clip, I've got something gummy on them. But these little baubles on the end of thread, they just hang. They're out of the way except when I want to use them, and they're very handy when I do want to use them. I don't have to use them for every project, but on the projects that I have been using them on, they've saved me a lot of time. Bye-bye.